bit difficult to see, but they go from black to a little bit of a whitey color with spots, and then later they start to turn a little bit darker with the brown color coming through. You can still see a little bit of black on that one, so it is lightening up. Michael, you want to know how big a hyena can grow? Well, it's probably about half the size of a female lion. So half the size of a mommy lion. That's about the size that fully grown adult hyenas grow. But look at these youngsters. I wonder if they've maybe heard one of the adult or older hyenas coming. But they are all looking in the same direction. It's like they've seen something or smelled something. And look at the one, he's getting a little bit nervous. Or maybe they were just scared of their buddy walking through the grass and they thought it was something else. See, there's another young one, but he's a bit older than the very little one there. And there they do a little bit of greeting ceremonies. They're saying hello. And that's how hyenas say hello whenever they go away from the den. And when they come back, they do that. Now, Tagrin, you want to know how fast do hyena run? They are quite fast, and you wouldn't think so when you look at them. But hyenas are quite fast, and they can probably run at top speed, maybe almost 30 miles an hour, which is quite fast, maybe a little bit less. But you know what? Hyenas can keep running at that speed for nearly 5 hours. So they can make animals that they're hunting very tired, and in the end, the animal will nearly lie down and say, "Take me, I'm too tired. I can't run anymore, I can't fight." And so that's the tactic of the hyena, to really outlast its prey. They chase it, and they chase it for a very long time, and eventually the prey gives up because it's so tired from running from the hyena that it then is easy to kill. So that's how hyenas hunt, and they're actually a little bit more successful than lions are, because lions only catch about 6 out of 10 animals that they try and catch, whereas hyenas, they're more about 7 out of 10. So if that was a test that you had at school, well, we know who the winner is there, and that's definitely the hyenas. But they're not always hunting. That's because they're quite clever in that the fact is they don't waste too much energy. If they see another predator that has killed an animal, well, they just go on there and steal it. And that's a lot easier than actually going to kill an animal yourself. So I don't think it's lazy, I think it's clever. Sam, you want to know why can't the daddy hyena come near to the den? Well, because hyenas are special like that. The girls are all in charge. All the girls rule the roost with the hyenas, and the boys need to go and sit far away. They're not allowed anywhere near the den. And if you're a boy, well, you're very unlucky if you're a hyena, because you don't get to stand first in line for anything. So if they kill something, the boys need to fight around the edges for a little bit of food, while the girls all go in and have their fill. So you don't want to be a boy hyena, but there are other situations where you don't want to be a girl in other different species of animals. But with hyenas, it's a girl's world. And if you are a girl in the hyena world, well, you sit on top of the pile, and a boy is at the bottom. That's just the facts of hyenas. And, well, lucky for us, we're not hyenas, are we, boys? Oh, he's got an itch. Well, I should say a her, because there wouldn't be too many boys around here, would there now? I've just told you that. So they also do get fleas and ticks and things that make them itchy. And that's why you might see them scratching and licking themselves sometimes. They are a little bit like dogs, where if they've got an itch, well, they do need to scratch it, and they look quite like dogs, don't they? But they're actually closer to the cats, which is very funny. They're almost a mix between a cat and a dog. And those little youngsters, we call them cubs because they are actually closer to cats. You wouldn't think so, would you? But they've all got very big ears, and that's what really makes their head look really funny. Now, we've had a very nice time sitting here with these baby hyena. I'm sure we're going to stay here a little bit longer, but we'll stay here and see what happens. In the meantime, let's head you on over to Jamie with another spotted animal.
Oh, see, remember I told you that hyenas are amazing animals? Well, Ralph has just shown you just why they are so amazing. But cheetah are amazing too. And we've had so many opportunities to spend hours and hours with these cheetah in particular. And I have to say that they are one of my favorite animals. Do you see the dark stripes running down the side of her nose? Now, I don't know if you can guess why cheetah have those, but I'm going to tell you what it's for. It's basically like cheetahs having sunglasses. Now that sounds ridiculous, imagining a cheetah with sunglasses on, but I said they hunt especially in the morning and at sunset, so that's when the sun is bright and right in their eyes. So those dark stripes help to absorb a little bit of the light, so it's not too bright in their eyes. A lot of sports players who work outside, cricket players, for example, who work in the sun, who perhaps don't wear sunglasses, you'll see that they will draw dark stripes on their cheeks. So that's one of the reasons that people think that cheetah have those dark stripes down the side of their nose. How interesting is that? Nature might not have given them a way to wear sunglasses, but it has given them a way to be able to see when the sun is really, really bright. And it's important. Cheetah have the best eyesight of any of the big cats. Better than lions, better than leopards. Now, Angela, here's a very good question, because although cheetah are very specialized, they are the smallest of the big cats that we see out here. And you want to know if they are prey for any other animals. Now, any predator will kill another predator if it has the chance of a different species. So lions will kill cheetah and leopards will kill cheetah. And most of the time, they kill cheetah not because they want to eat it, but because it's competition. They're competing for the same resource, to eat the same food. And a cheetah, might eat a wildebeest that the lion was going to feed their cubs, kind of thing. It's a bit more complicated than that, but you get the idea. Very seldom will the lion eat a cheetah, but there are cases where leopards have killed cheetah, and probably only because they're competition, that's their natural instinct. They've then gone on to eat them, so they haven't wasted it. And hyena are not fussy at all. Hyena will also eat cheetah if there's a dead cheetah or an injured cheetah. Possibly. Not always. Remember, nature has no rules. So sometimes different things happen, different to what we expect. That's why I love working in the way that we do, because it actually gives us the opportunity to really get to see some of the extraordinary things. And I know that I don't know everything there is to know out here. So it's been really, really lovely having the kids from Allington. I hope you have enjoyed your safari. It's been special experiencing it. Remember what I told you? That we'll never know everything about nature? That's half the fun. And I hope you learned a little bit about the amazing animals of Africa. All right, kids, off you go back to the rest of your school day. And for our regular viewers, what we're going to do is send you back over to Rolf, who's moved on from his spotty hyenas and found something quite tall, even taller than him.
Yes, and off in the distance we've got there's a few giraffe actually off in the distance, but there we've got a giraffe almost looking at that dead tree, and from this distance it really is far, but that's potentially a couple of martial eagles there. So either martial eagles or black-chested snake eagles. I can't tell from so far, and they are very similar. And that's looking directly over the top of the hyena den, which is still a hive of activity. The youngsters, there seems to be more and more of them coming out. And I don't know if one of these adults is lying in the grass here, because they keep on walking over in the grass, and I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't one there, because if there were no adults around, the little cubbies are normally quite good at staying deep within the burrow and not coming out. So I do think that there's a babysitter here somewhere in the grass. But always nice to see the little cubbies. Wow, look at that. That other one there, he disappeared off there, and now he's come back. So I'm pretty sure there's an adult just around that bush. But it's nice to see the different age and size of these little cubs. As you can see, the younger, the darker they are. And as they grow and they gain in age, they do then start getting those little spots. Now, Norfal, you want to know if hyenas are cannibalistic in order to survive? I'm pretty sure that there is a lot of cases with hyena eating other hyena, and you can also have it, you even get siblicide, where young cubs like this can eat another little cub of the same age, and it's normally when you've got very dominant cubs, or their mother is very high up on the hierarchy, and then you can have the firstborn killing and eating potentially its younger sibling, because it's going to then maintain that position all on its own, and otherwise it would have to share that particular spot. So they are very political, or hyenas. And look at this one. It's a little bit it's still a youngster, but he's a bit older than these ones that we've been watching. You can see what I mean by very fluffy and quite white, actually. So they almost go from a very dark color to quite a light color with their spots. And then as they age from there, they start to get that tawny color that they almost get on their mane at the top there. And the greeting ceremonies continue as this young one comes in. And that's with that greeting ceremony, they then work out where they are within the hierarchy. And even at this very young age, it is very evident that they need to respect the hierarchy of all the adults, and they're in that same position. The other day was very interesting, because we actually saw an adult who was obviously subordinate to a little cub. And the little cub was having a full go at this adult, and it was cowering and being very subordinate towards the cub, which was very strange to see, because that's not normal with all other animals. For instance, like with the banded mongoose, they have a very structured hierarchy as well, and it's just down to the older females. So whichever age you are puts you in the different set in the hierarchy. Whereas with hyenas, it's a very different kind of rules, where you're born into your spot in the hierarchy. So even at 1 day old, you could be above the entire clan if your mother was the matriarch. And from that first day, the rest of the clan needs to respect that little baby. And this one coming very close into us here, getting a little bit curious. So that's nice to see, and always nice to see the hyenas coming in nice and close to our vehicle. But they are still a little bit nervous, you can see, and that's because there's not too many adults around. But I really like looking at that kind of age of hyena, because they look like little punks. Their hair's standing up all over the place, and for me it's almost like a young teenager of humans, a little bit the body not quite caught up with itself yet, very long legs, and it almost all seems out of structure. But that one having quite a nice time just grooming itself. And always nice to spend time at the den. Now, Paula, thanks for your comment. What a fluffy hyena. Indeed. They generally get like that at that age. And for me, they look quite silly, really, but quite nice at the same time. So they start, you see the hair almost growing too fast for the body. And they'll start to fill out in a couple of months. And then they'll actually be quite large. That is quite happily just going about his thing. Should I say she? I keep on saying he, but I'm getting it all wrong, aren't I? Almost doesn't look like a hyena with that angle. It looks like a very regal wolf or something like that, I don't know. But this is sort of like that interim phase. Dyed monkey, you want to know why hyenas smell each other's genitals for a greeting? Well, that's exactly the thing. I know it's a bit of an uncomfortable point, but hyenas, both male and females, have penises. So it's very difficult to actually tell between a male and a female. And what's even more interesting is that the females have got more testosterone than the males, and so they have larger penises than the males, which is quite strange. Okay, everybody, let's head over to Jamie. She's got something very exciting to show you.
Look at what we've got to show you. One of those random things that happens when you spend a lot of time out here is you get all sorts of predator interaction. Now, we've got a pair of jackal that have come wandering in. I don't know if they've seen the cheetah, but what we do know is that Malika's boys do enjoy a good jackal chase. Now, I'm sorry if I interrupted anyone in the middle of their sentence. I just wanted to rush you across as quickly as possible, just in case the boys shot up and started to chase them, because Malika's seen them. But so far, I have to confess, the jackal have changed the line that they were, or the direction that they were travelling in, and the boys haven't even looked up. So this might be something of an anticlimax, or at least a lucky escape for the pair of jackal. If they see the cheetah, though, you'll get to hear them bark an alarm call. Oh, now we're going to lie down here. So we've got everybody here. Predator party. I like the sound of that. 2 jackals, 1 hyena, and 3 cheetah. Cool. Thank you very much, Faith. I will let you know if we should extend our reach to a further audience. For now, I think everybody might just go to sleep, which happens. How have you not noticed there's 3 cheetah there? Or do you know that there's 3 cheetah there and you just haven't alarm called? No, I don't think they've realised. Life's tough when your head's only a few, about a foot from the ground, even when the grass is short. And just to let you know, by the way, I'm not sure if this message has been passed on to you, but Djuma is experiencing a tremendous storm. We've got one in the background, but I've just watched it fly past us, and I couldn't be happier. The storm that I thought was about to come tumbling onto our heads has actually moved away. Now, unfortunately, I will not yet, but probably in the next 10 minutes have to leave Malika. The reason being that in the course of my day, I have not even had time to collect a ranger to accompany me tonight. So we are very fortunate. We are allowed to stay in the park after the gate closes, provided we do so with a ranger with us. And unfortunately, I haven't even had time to collect one. I haven't managed to get to Talek Gate. So I will have to start heading back for when the gate closes. We've still got 10 minutes, though, I think. I back myself. I'm pretty sure I could get to Talek Gate in half an hour. What do you think, Adrian? You've seen me drive.
I think you get there.
You think I'll get there in 25 minutes? Oof, pressure's on. No sign that the jackal have seen the cheetah yet, but they're starting to move uphill. Have you got an itchy neck by any chance? Oh, that's so dog-like. Oh, scratch, 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 scratch behind the ear, now the neck. all those biting ticks and fleas and things, mites. An expression of absolute bliss upon its face. Oh, standing tall, sniffing, listening, walking back towards the cheetah. No. Nathan, yes, absolutely, cheetah could kill jackal. They are, in this respect, it's probably the one example of where they are actually top cat in a scenario where there's some kind of interaction. So yes, they can kill jackal, they do kill jackal. Most of the time they can't be bothered to do it, but you'll find that with all young predators that chase and hunt instinct is very strong without any of the control of the wisdom of the years or experience. So they're more likely to chase jackal, and in fact during our Big Cat Week TV show, that was something that happened with Malika's two boys, and Malika joined in the end, was that they started chasing a jackal. It was one of those interesting experiences where I'd been sitting still with my radio turned down, started the video, it was just chaos. It was absolute chaos. Amazing though. Okay, I think these jackal have escaped, partly because they've gone in the right direction, but also because the boys are being teenagers and they're fast asleep. I love jackal. I really do. Dale, in terms of the relationship between jackal and foxes, they are related to foxes, but distantly. They're not part of the same genus. In terms of their genus name, they are a Canis species, so they belong to the dog line of things. So they are related to foxes, but more distantly. There is some evidence now to suggest that the golden jackal is more closely related to wolves, actually. So they fall under the... Oh, wait, have you seen them now? Something's there. Look at that long limb stance. Whereas as far as I know, the fox genus is the Vulpes genus. I don't know how you pronounce it, but that's as far as I know. But they are, in terms of relationships, they probably most closely connect. Oh, hold on. We're getting closer. All of a sudden the wind of the storm has hit us. It's a lot chillier. No, don't come and use my car as cover, because I know what Malika's boys do. And they've learnt it from their mothers. So in terms of fox relationship, they're probably most similar. In terms of their foraging structure, or the way that they hunt, the way that they live in family groups and mated pairs. So there is a similarity. And they fill essentially a similar ecological niche. The cheetah boys are now awake, but they've looked across, seen the jackal, and gone back to sleep. Jackal, you are being very brave. You are being very, very brave. Getting closer and closer, but I'm still not sure yet. Alright, Faith, I think it's time to bring in let's start. Hold on. I think he's going to turn and run. This is a difficult call, this one. We could be left with cheetah lying flat on the ground and a jackal disappearing into the distance. I'm not sure. No, we have our answer. Trotting off. Don't come and use me as a shield. Basically, the animals here that are habituated to the vehicles, essentially, they see us as moving, slightly noisy termite mounds. No, I mean, I can't project what they see us as, because I don't know, I can't read their minds. But they certainly treat us that way. Okay guys, one last look at Malika and her two boys, just quickly, because we're going to have to say goodbye to them. I don't want to, but I promise you we'll come and find them tomorrow on the sunrise safari. So farewell to Malika and the boys. Let us see what they get up to over the course of the evening. We're going to start heading on towards the gate. Let's go across to Ralph to find out where he is.
Thanks, Jamie. Yeah, well, we haven't moved anywhere just yet, everybody. We might have to leave in a little while because there's a very big storm approaching. I'm sure Taylor had showed you there in the background, and it's coming towards us at a rate of knots. We can actually smell the rain now. But nevertheless, for the time being, we're still here, so we're going to just enjoy this a little while longer. And one of the adults, as you can see there, has just made her way over towards the den. And so we were watching all the little youngsters going on over and greeting her. It's always fascinating when you get those greeting ceremonies of hyena. And it is quite strange that they use their genitals as a very clear greeting ceremony, but that's one of the things that is very intriguing about hyenas. And yes, we can find it a bit strange as humans, but they obviously don't find any strangeness in it whatsoever, and it's a very important part of their social hierarchy. So I think we must take it from whence it comes. But you can see that adult there. I wonder if that is the babysitter that went off skiving from her duties. She's just returned before the other adults come back so she doesn't get into trouble. Now, Ali, you want to know if hyenas have territories? Yes, they do. They have actually quite distinct territories, and the den site is normally in a very central part of that territory. But hyenas can, as I say, very large in terms of the surface area of their territorial site, because they can range very far. Can hyenas during the night? But look at this little youngster, very excited to have this adult back, and I wonder, it's probably its little cub. I'm very excited to have mommy back. She looks like she's falling asleep, or just ignoring him. Maybe she has been a naughty girl this morning, so she was put in the naughty corner. Now mom's ignoring her. No, I think she's just been hard at work trying to find food, and it looks like she might have done a good job at it, because, oh, look at that smile. It's actually a bit of a yawn. But she does look, when she stood up a bit earlier, she looked very fat. So I think she's quite a happy hyena. She's fed very well, and that bodes well for the little cubs, because she'll have a very good supply of milk after that feed. She won't be dropping any condition. It's very important for females when they are lactating. Obviously, it does take a lot of energy out of them, so it's important that they feed well. And so there's lots of cubs now out of the hole. Now, Rigwam, you want to know if clan battles are common? Not, I wouldn't say very common. I think you might have some where their territories overlap, and during the night time is when you might have those kind of territorial battles that ensue. But we don't often get to see much fighting between hyenas because of their very late hours that they move around at night, and they also split up. So they don't really move together as a group, and so it's very difficult to actually follow them. And that's why I'm really enjoying spending time next to this den, learning so much from these little youngsters and the adults that come here, because the sightings of hyena are normally quite fleeting, and you follow one for a little while and then it disappears off into the bush. You might see another one or maybe a few more, but they all seem to just randomly walk in different directions. So there's no real coordination like you have with lions. It's only a little bit later, once they actually sniff out or find some food, that they start calling for the others to come in and help and assist. But I haven't seen too many fights between hyenas, mainly between hyenas and lions or other carnivores and predators with wild dogs and leopard and jackal. And I've seen a lot of interactions between different species, but not too much in the way of inter-clan battles. Now, everybody, I'm going to have to be starting up quite soon and starting to make our way, because I don't want to get caught in this grassy area here when the storm hits, because it is quite wet and sloshy as it is, and so if we get caught in that storm, I might be getting stuck in just keeping that name of Marshmallow Queen, as they've been calling me, but I think we might not make it home this evening then. So I'm not worried about the rest. All I'm worried about is that we do actually get back to camp. Alright, so I think I'm going to have to reluctantly leave this den now. I would love to stay here, but I think you can all see what's happening in the background there, and it's getting closer and closer as we sit here. So I am going to start up. Goodbye, hyenas. I'm sure we'll see you tomorrow again. See, they do get a little bit nervous when you start the vehicle. That's why I just give them a chance to get used to it. And we have been spending quite a lot of time here. They're getting nicely habituated to us and our sound, our smell, and also the ladies from Michigan State University are here on a regular basis. So this den and these cubs are quite used to vehicles. And we have made our own little track here. So I'm going to be heading up towards the Olololo escarpment and taking the main road straight into the storm. But speaking of the storm, let's head you on over to Taylor and see if she's staying dry.
We're staying dry for the moment. Look what we've just arrived at. But it is coming in quickly, Rolf. You better make it home as soon as you can. You can see the storm just brewing above us up on the escarpment. I hope all our tents are closed, and hopefully it doesn't pour with rain up there for too long. But we've got the tree climbing lions that are not climbing trees at the moment, but termite mounds instead. They all look rather relaxed. I don't see any of the adults. I think that this is all the youngsters, all the young Olololo lions. We must actually do another count when they're all out in the open and see if all 13 are still around. It's a little one. They've grown up so quickly though. I mean, if you had to compare photos, even if I just had to compare photos that I took when I first arrived in August in comparison to how big they are now, it's like a completely different pride of lion. And there's I'm trying to smell the air. There's an interesting smell lurking around. Can you smell it? It smells like hippos. Hippo dung tends to have and urine has a very sort of fishy smell to it. So I know that there are 2 hippos that like to live in the dams where these lions are drinking from this morning. And perhaps we're just sitting downwind on one of their pathways, and that's the scent that I'm getting. It's not particularly pleasant at all. Come on, little ones. Yes, you know what's coming. I think they're getting excited now because they know that this is perfect hunting weather. Not that that little one would be worried about hunting at the moment. It's still a bit on the young side. But you can hear the wind. I'm starting to smell the petrichor in the air. So the rain is on its way, and these lions are specialists at killing in the rain. And they're sitting. See if you're going to jump and wake someone up. No, you're just also going to sit on the mound. Nice sun. And I'm sure that termite mound is absorbing a lot of the heat too. So that'd be a great spot to sit. Not to keep out of the wind, unfortunately. You can see it's blowing around quite a bit at the moment. I don't know where the rest of them are. The grass is quite tall, so they could be hidden. Although knowing the adults, they're probably just sitting away from these youngsters and just enjoying a bit of peace and quiet while they can, before they are put to work again to go off hunting. That buffalo really didn't do much for them. Hey, Manu? When did they... Well, you also weren't here, but they killed it the day before I arrived. No, the morning that I'd arrived. So yesterday morning they took down that buffalo and completely devoured every last bit of it except that piece that they were carrying around with them this morning. But I'm sure they've got bored of that now and tossed it. There wasn't much to eat on there. It just looked like a bit of hide or something. Nice to chew on when you've got new teeth coming through, I would imagine. And of course, they're all facing the wrong way. Typical. But it is funny, though, this afternoon. There are not many cars here. I think everybody's heading home, trying to avoid the rain. Now, Scarlett, you're wondering how far up the escarpment would those lions travel? Well, if you can show an Angama camp up on top, Manu. So the Angama camp is just up there to the left. There we go. So there's one lodge. Now, we are a little bit further behind that and sort of towards the right. You can't see us on the other side of the ridge. That's where our camp is. Now, about 30 or 40 meters from the kitchen. The other night, about 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, the lions in this particular pride, the Olololos, came up and actually killed a zebra. So they'll come right up on top. And it happens when all the animals gather around the airstrip. There's lovely grazing on top of the escarpment. My goodness, the whole car is rocking now because the wind is gusting so heavily at the moment. That's incredible. And so they go wherever they want and wherever they need to. And I always say, and I said it again this morning, how we go through those patches when you come down the escarpment. There's often a few animals here and there, but after that sort of main road towards where the Hammerkorps are building their nest, there isn't much around. It's very, very quiet. There's no impala, there's not a lot of buffalo anymore, the elephants are out at the marsh. So they need to try and find better feeding areas. So they follow the animals, and the animals on that particular day happen to go up onto the escarpment towards the airstrip. It's not uncommon to arrive at the airstrip and see 30 or 40 giraffe walking around there, and a herd of zebra, lots of impala, big herds of eland up top, and topi in fact. So they were all up there. So it doesn't make sense to stay down in an area where there's no food, and these lions know that. They just keep moving. But it is dangerous, as we know, for them to go venturing up top, because there are lots and lots of cows and goats. Of course, that's not inside the triangle, but there's no fences preventing the predators from moving around, or vice versa, stopping the herbivores coming down. So it can be a bit of a problem. But hopefully these lions will use their brain. Well, we'll sit here for a little bit longer. I might drive around and see if I can find the adults and the rest of the pride. Ralph has moved on from his hyenas. He's making his way towards the storm, but some elephants have caught his attention.
Yes, yeah, I'm a little bit like a goldfish. I got sidetracked here with the beautiful scenery and a group of elephants just walking across the road in front of us. And we've spotted here, it seems like a mom. She's got a very small little baby with her, and it seems like the older one is potentially the older brother or sister. So now you can see 2 generations, but I'm pretty sure it's from the same mom. And that's probably about the closest that you would be able to get as siblings with elephants. It's a few years apart, probably about 3 years apart. But we can't see in that picture the little youngster that's just on the other side of mommy. But they are still very close to mom and inseparable, really, you can see. And that sibling was also rubbing up against the little baby and obviously, pushing it and shoving it as siblings do. Brother or sisterly love to hate each other. They'll fight with each other like anything, but let anybody else try and do anything to one of them and they'll defend each other. There's the little one now. Mommy's happily grazing away, and the older of the 2 youngsters, he seems like he's put some things on top of his back. He's probably spraying some mud and then throwing some grass, and he might start growing plants off of his back there. He could grow his own grass. But it's nice to see them all very happily grazing through. And some of them are a little bit wet. They've obviously stopped at a little pond and thrown some water over themselves. But there you can see that one nice and small. It's actually below the top of the grass. So when it ran through the grass a minute ago, it really looked tiny. I would say that one's almost less than a year, I think. Yes, definitely. Definitely less than a year old. So it's a new addition to the little family of elephants. beautiful to see. Look at how small he is. He disappears in the grass. It's not often that elephants disappear in the grass. And Mommy will be keeping a very watchful eye over the little one. And almost immediately as we started to make our approach towards them, the two youngsters went very close into the mom, almost just in a defensive mode, just until they worked out that we didn't mean any harm. And then they relaxed totally, and look at the little baby now sitting down. Might be time for a snooze. Mommy just carrying on with her feeding chore. And I think that's exactly what the little baby has done now. Laid down, get a few winks before the rainstorm arrives. Speaking of rainstorms, I think this storm is just about upon us. So I do need to once again start getting out of this grassy area, very swampy as you can see on the road, and that's been a couple of days drying. So if this storm hits us now and we're here, we might spend the night here. I'm just going to start up and start making our way to the main road, which is near to the Olololo escarpment out in front. So while I make my way up to the main road, I'm going to send you all the way back down on south to South Africa. My good friend Noel has got one of those little things that look forward and back.
Hello everyone! So we managed to get home just in time before we were struck by lightning and rained on, which was nice. And the biggest lightning strike happened right by the DRC. It was absolutely crazy. So for any of you that might just be joining us on the show, my name is Noelle. I'm here in South Africa in the Sabi Sands, and on camera I've got Wiem, the wildebeest. Hello, and we have a very special specimen for you in the road just in front of us here. We have a very frightened little chameleon who, he started to move. This is one of my favorite things to see, is the way that they walk like this. So I have a feeling all the thunder and lightning made him sort of stand very still in the road. And now he's going to very slowly come across. Now, we've managed to catch a chameleon doing this once or twice in the past month or so. It's not something you always get to see. And you'll notice that he's a sort of sandy color, light green with lots of black on him. That black is because he's disturbed, and part of that could be because we drove. He's looking at us now, and part of it can be because of the thunder and lightning that happened. And then we often wonder, why do they walk like this? Well, part of the reasons why I believe they walk like this is to appear more like a leaf blowing in the wind as they cross the road, as opposed to something that can be eaten. Many lizards, when they cross the road, go very, very quickly to get from one side to the other, but chameleons have a tendency to do this. It could also do with just sort of the structure of their body. They've got fused toes, 3 fused and 2, so they can form this little circle to help grab onto branches when they're climbing. But if I were a bird in the sky and saw this moving like it is now, I would probably think, it's a leaf rather than a chameleon. But I'm not a bird, that's just my thought behind it. I can hear elephants far in the back, but we're not going to be going that way. It's very dark and ominous still. We're going to head up and see if we can find those lions we were looking at this morning. But first we're going to wait for our very slow roadblock. Now, we only get one species of chameleon here in southern Africa. We get the flap-necked chameleon, which is this one here. One place I really love to visit would be Madagascar. They get many more species, many different species, I should say rather, that's better grammar, of chameleon that side. And you see, as he gets closer to the edge of the road, he starts to move a little bit quicker. You see that there? And then once he gets in towards the grass, he'll scurry away. All right, now as we wait for him to cross just a little bit further and head up for our lions, let's head on up to Jamie in the Masai Mara, who I hope has no lightning or rain.
animals in the rain indeed, and Djuma's been experiencing some serious storms. I am right on the tail end. I'm just going to be quiet for a second so you can listen to the sound effects. Listen to this. Can you hear the thunder, Faith? Okay, what that means for me is that I'm going to have to start fleeing relatively soon. We've got a collection of zebra, topi, Thompson's gazelles, and a wall of water behind them. That's not cloud. That's rain. And I'm starting to get a couple of big drops here as well. So what that means is we will have to flee. Obviously, we don't want to risk anything in terms of lightning. So it's phenomenal to me how different weather conditions hit the Mara at different times. We're running from a storm, but Taylor, I think, is sitting high and dry with beautiful views of her lions.
High and dry with some lions is what we're doing, Jamie, but we're sitting ducks waiting for the storm to arrive. It is on its way. It's coming in fairly quickly too. You can see the beautiful darkness just behind that lion. It is simply stunning. It really, really is pretty this afternoon, except it's freezing cold all of a sudden now. And I'm trying to tell nature that I need to not get any more sick than what I already am, as we've got TV coming up. Off they go. Bye-bye. One lion. I heard some strange sounds coming from the long grass, in fact, so I suspect there's some more lions just laying flat into it. Probably some of the adults. Oh, that was a very graceful maneuver. Did you see that one lion? It sort of rolled over and then sat back up again. Lovely. That. If I was a lion, that's probably how I'd behave too. Now, I'm trying to remember how many young males were in this pride. I think it was 9 youngsters. Now, Lord K, you're wondering if we're in the rainy season at the moment. We're kind of in between the rains. So we supposedly had the short rains, and then typically you don't get much rain between the end of November and then it starts again up in, was it April, May? Is apparently when the big rains arrive, although they haven't seen the big rains for quite some time. I think the last time was 2015, so we're still waiting for them, but we've definitely had some decent downpours over the last few weeks, so it's quite nice. In fact, for the animals, of course, it's keeping the grass really lovely, except the grass is just growing taller and taller, which is a problem for us. It makes visibility a lot more difficult. I can't believe they're actually still sitting up on that mound. It is freezing. I thought they'd all be down cuddling one another, even just on this western facing side of the slope of the termite mound, because that would be quite nice just to sit there and keep out of the wind. But they do have lovely warm shaggy coats. I think their coats are a lot thicker than we think. I reckon if you had to put your hand on a lion, or at least run your hand through the hair, your fingers may disappear. And he's beautiful. Of course, he looks a bit scruffy, as he's a male and he's starting to develop his mane now. He's also got very hairy ears. Very fluffy. Oh, that's so stunning. Bree, you say, how do these lions make this termite mound look so comfortable? I have no idea, but I feel like cats and dogs are incredible in terms of being able to sit on anything and making it seem as though it's, well, a nice soft cushion or some sort. There goes another one of the youngsters, young boy, getting off of that mound and going into the grass where the others lay. We'll be able to see where he's going to disappear in a minute. Oh, by the way, I was having a look at the screenshots of our frog sighting this afternoon, and it was a water scorpion. Some of you managed to get some great captures. It was a water scorpion trying to hunt that frog, which is absolutely incredible. I don't think it got it though. It all happened so quickly, and I was watching the monitor, and I honestly couldn't make out what it was. So thank you to all of you who did send in some screenshots. That is amazing. Never seen that before. Never thought that I would see something like that. But obviously the frog got away. It was just too quick. There's a lion there as well. Where is, oh my goodness, that's right next to us. Yeah, we're surrounded by lions. I didn't even know that that one was there, just tucked away in the grass. Sneaky. Very cool. But we're going to have to start saying goodbye to these lions, I think. Otherwise we're going to get caught in this massive downpour, and there's no ways that I'm going to be able to put my covers on right here. So, bye-bye lions. Thank you very much. We shall see you tomorrow morning. Same time, same place. Who knows if they understood me, but might as well give it a bash, eh? Right. So it sounds like the Djuma team are back out and on the roll again. They've managed to, well, stay dry. Let's go down across to Steve, who's got some impala.
Been a while since we've been on the camera. We have been running away from the lightning and the rain, and as you can see, these impala are quite wet. Welcome to Djuma, South Africa. My name is Steve Falconbridge. I'm joined by Mr. Seb on the camera, and we were out earlier trying to get you some amazing animals, and then we got hit by the biggest thunderstorm you have ever seen. I wonder if Noelle has managed to contain herself, because she made it back just in time. We apologize for these little polls. We are on an interactive safari, so please send through your questions and comments to #SafariLive or follow the YouTube stream and see what we can do for you. But at the moment, we've got a couple impala that are really, really enjoying the moisture. It means they don't have to go anywhere to drink. The leaves of the grass and of the trees have got lots of moisture on it. It wasn't the hugest of storm. It passed by very, very quickly, but it was very spectacular. This afternoon was getting very, very hot and sticky, and I know all my colleagues back at FC were complaining of the heat, and the storm then came from the west, and it has cooled things down quite marvelously. So we were hoping for some more rain, but it doesn't look like it is going to be. Shannon asks if I've ever seen an animal hit by lightning. I have not. I mean, I've found animals that look like they've been hit by lightning. I've never seen it happen. No, I haven't. I've found animals that seem to have been hit by lightning, but it's hard to ascertain. They just kind of melted to the floor. Yeah, I haven't seen it happen, but I know it's happened to a few of my golfing buddies up in Johannesburg. A friend of mine was hit, not directly, but lightning hit next to them on the ground, and he fell down. And that's why in Johannesburg, whenever there's lightning, these big sirens come on and you get off the golf course, because it is not the best place to be. But folks, we're going to head on towards where Thandi was last seen. I think this morning Herbie had success in finding her and tracking her to an area quite close to where she was the day before. We're going to see if Seb and I have what it takes to find her this afternoon. So please send your questions through. We are very interested to hear what's going on with all of you out there. And I believe the Mara has been providing you with all sorts of wonderful things this afternoon. Noelle is out as well. And I am out. And we might see some Herbie later. H. Macy asks me, what is my favorite antelope? Eland is probably up there. But it would have to be sable antelope, actually. Sable antelope, and my book, I'll have to find my book. I've hidden it because of the weather. Sable antelope is black with these huge, big, rapier-like horns. They are really, really special, and they're quite endangered in South Africa now. They used to be very, very common. That is interesting. Do you see that tree, Seb? That tree looks like it has been knocked over by the wind, folks, or by lightning. It's hard to say, but look at that. Now that has just happened now in this weather, I think. I did not see that yesterday, and we now have a roadblock. Thankfully we're going straight, but that will have to be cleared up. So no animals hit by lightning, but trees most definitely. But that looks like a dead old marula, and unfortunately he's on the road, so we're going to have to clean it up and put it back on the side, but all those nutrients will go back into the soil. So probably some wind. We did have lightning smashing down right when we were back at camp. Seb and I managed to get back in time before the rain. Noel was pushing it, and we had the whole team in the parking bay like a Ferrari service team waiting to welcome Noel back. And as she was arriving back, this huge lightning bolt hit right next to us. Now I'm not sure if Seb had to change his underpants, but he definitely had to move like he needed to. And the sun is coming out. It is a beautiful afternoon. The temperature, I don't know what it is now, but it's dropped by about 10 or 15 degrees Celsius. So it's a marvelous afternoon. Troy from Hong Kong, what an interesting question you've asked me there. While we answer it, sorry Joy, we've got a one, oh, don't fly. There's a lovely, can you see him, Seb, or is the roof in the way?
Oh, the roof.
Sorry folks, I just reverse a little bit. We have got a wonderful bird up in the tree there. Joy, I will come back to your question. Look at that, you got it, Seb? Okay, I wonder if any of you folks out there can comment on what bird that is while I answer Joy's question from Hong Kong all the way other side of the world. Are antelope's horns good conductors? And that is an interesting question. I mean, the horn itself is made out of keratin, just very, very hard, solidified keratin. Inside the horn is bone, so I don't think bone is a very good conductor. I'm not an electrician. I've never heard of an animal being struck on the horn. But that's an interesting question. I wonder if Noel knows the answer to it. But the keratin itself is like hair, so I don't think it's a very good conductor, even though our hair does stand up. Yeah, no, that is a very good question. Anybody know what that is? That bird sitting in the tree, nice and wet. The temperature has obviously dropped. It's impossible for this bird to get any thermals. Quite a heavy bird. So it's now sitting there. So folks, while we continue to discuss what this bird is, I'd like to say goodbye to the viewers who join us on Facebook and Nat Geo Wild. You have a wonderful afternoon. Please feel free to Google us on Safari Live. You find us if you'd like to continue the show.
I'm so sorry about that little bit of technical difficulty with our audio. So we have relocated on this male and female mating pair of lions, an Incohuma lioness and one of the Birmingham males. Now, she is a funny little one, this lion, and then she lies down. It's very strange. So we've been trying to predict, as we always do, year after year after year, and time after time, but she has not been very obliging. So now earlier we were talking about that big lightning strike that touched down near camp, and it seems as if it's hit a tree that had... I haven't decided or heard yet if the Diker kill was actually inside the tree or next to that tree, and there's no leopard around there at the moment. We're just going to give it a little bit of time, and then we will head over that way and see if we can show you that tree and that Diker kill, and maybe if the leopard's around. Now, I'm not quite sure which leopard that would be, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, we are getting a little bit of stretching action from this female. The male's lifting his head up every now and then. So I think we're going to wait here for a little while and see if maybe they give us a bit of mating for anyone that has not seen it over the past few days to see it. And then for any of you that watch this area, we don't get to see them as much as we would like. So it's always good to spend some time with lions, whether they're doing something or not doing anything. Ooh, now my friend Steve-O is on the other side of Djuma, I believe, and he has a different type of predator that he would like to show you.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Noel. We've got the smallest eagle that we get in the area, and they are the pair sitting together. You wouldn't think that they were the same species. You know, we have a pair of Wahlberg's eagles. You can see the pale morph on the right and the normal version on the left. I'm not sure which one is male or female, but they are looking a little bit wet and just perched up there hoping for a little bit of sunshine to come through to help to dry their feathers before the night comes. And also they're getting quite excited, I think, because after a little bit of rain like this, and I don't know if we've had enough rain, but after a bit of rain like this you start getting termite alates, which is the reproductive termites. They come out and they fly around, and these Wahlbergs would be quite happy to scoop up a few of them as food. As I said, the smallest eagle in the area. Isn't that a beautiful picture? Enjoying that nice dead tree. Perfect view around their small territory. Sorry about that, folks. We lost some audio with you on the vulture. And for those of you who got it right, I believe Jojo got it right. It was a white-backed vulture. So well done to those of you who got it right. It is one of the easiest vultures to identify, but it can be confused with the Cape vulture. Cape vulture is a bit bigger, though, and but difficult to see sometimes. But it's very characteristic with the Cape vulture. If you can look close enough, it's got a yellow eye, which is very, very indicative of that animal. But isn't this a beautiful pair of Wahlberg sitting in the tree? You can easily see that crest on the one on the left, that crest at the back of the head, and the beak is quite small. It's not a very pronounced beak. It's got that nice sharp beak, that sharp point to it, which is characteristic of all your raptors, but quite easily see that crest at the back. Eloise wonders if natural selection, would it not favor one morph eventually? Yes, it probably would. I was reading up about the Wahlbergs, and there doesn't seem to be too much variation in it. I mean, the white one is probably more camouflaged in certain scenarios versus the brown one, which is camouflage in other scenarios. So it's just a genetic sort of form that comes through. It doesn't seem to be a recessive gene, as I said at one stage a little while ago. It's that kind of contrasting one where they're not too sure whether the mother and father are giving the white morph through. It just seems to be a form that comes out with regards to nature. They're not too sure on it. It is quite confusing, but I reckon the white would benefit one and the brown would benefit one. So them having one of each would benefit them both, because they are hunting together and also providing for the same group of chicks. So obviously habitat dependent. One would be a little bit easier to stalk certain animals in certain habitats. Wendy Ma, what happened to that chick? This is not the pair, I believe, that has the chick. We're a little bit further away from that. The nest that these guys are close to is by Twin Dams. We've just passed Twin Dams, where the other one on Central is the Wahlberg's nest up there, and I think that chick is still there, and it's a different pair, but I could be mistaken, but I think this is not the same pair as you are thinking about, the one with the chick. And I believe that this nest here by Twin Dams, that didn't seem to be in activity this year. And it's possible, you know, I mean, it's difficult to look after eggs or to breed if the conditions are not good enough, and there hasn't been enough rain, there hasn't been enough of an insect bloom. I mean, I still haven't seen many termites flying this year, and I haven't seen many dung beetles. So the insect bloom, which would be quite important for these birds as a food source, hasn't really come. So as we know, the saying, make hay while the sun shines. Down here, if the conditions aren't favorable to breed, certain birds won't breed. And it's possible that maybe it was a failed nest, or they just didn't get the right condition. It's really difficult to say, really difficult to say. So we're going to go from this breeding pair to a mating pair. One is monogamous, one is not.
And we still have our mating pair of lions who are still doing the exact same thing as earlier, which is not a whole lot. One of the other Djuma guides, Taxon's going to go check on that leopard kill for us, and we're going to sit here for him, and we're going to see what these lions do, and then we're going to swap in a little while. We also have a lot of elephants that are screaming around in between the lions and the elephants if the elephants make their way up here. And every now and then we're getting a little sprinkle of rain, but it was not as much rain as we were hoping for, sadly. We were really hoping for a lot more. You can see around where we are right now, this is a very dry space. So this is a place where they burned earlier in the year, and it should be nice and green, but unfortunately it's not. And there's 1 or 2 drops coming in, but we really need that 200 mils, 300 mils that we've been talking about. Now, don't forget, everybody, we have our TV show that's coming up on the 4th of February. We are going to be airing for 5 nights in a row at 10 p.m. Eastern on Nat Geo Wild. So it starts on the 4th of Feb, and the last night is the 8th of Feb at 10 o'clock Eastern, live in the United States. And we're also going to be playing a very special game for all of the viewers. It's going to be Safari Bingo, and whoever wins Safari Bingo will win a trip for 2 to Africa. And if you want to check out what that entails, go to natgeo.com/safari live, and that will tell you all of the rules and regulations. I'm excited for whoever wins. Maybe you get to sit like we sit and watch lions, you never know. Oh, lions, I love you, but you're so lazy. So lions sleep for about 16 to 20 hours a day. When they mate, they're usually up and around a little bit more, but as I was saying before, this lioness is not your typical lioness. I can't predict her movements at all, sadly. And this poor Birmingham male has to put up with her shenanigans. We were also chatting this morning how usually they don't hunt while they're mating, but we couldn't find this pair for a couple of days, and then when we were looking at them this morning, we noticed their bellies were a little bit more full than the last time we saw them. And so they definitely ate something, and then one of the Djuma guys was telling me that the rest of the Nkuhumas are up in Biffle's Hook area near Jacana Lodge, and there's some buffalo that are up that side. So I asked him kindly, please bring the Nkuhumas back to us. You can bring the buffalo as well so we can get a bit of the action. But I don't know if that's going to happen, and they'll keep us updated so I can keep you all updated. Now, for any of our new viewers, you're wondering, I keep saying Nkuhumas and I keep saying Birminghams, and you're like, who are these lions and what are you on about? So Nkuhuma is the local word, the Shangaan word, for a brown ivory tree. And apparently this pride was found underneath a brown ivory tree the first time they were found by some of the guides, and so that's how they get the name, the Nkuhuma pride. Then the Birmingham males, which used to be 5 males in total, but are now 4. We're only seeing 1 here. They don't usually mate all together. It's just usually 1 at a time. They were born on a property called Birmingham, and so they're the Birmingham males. Also nicknamed Burmese, Brummies. There's a few different names. Oh, Ryan, I believe you were just asking, you're reading my mind, Ryan. You were just asking why the males are called the Birmingham males, and then there we go. So usually when we name prides or coalitions of males, sometimes one male will be territorial on his own. It has to do with where they were born, where they were found, where they were first seen, or possibly it has to do with breakaways. There's a little logistics that go in there. The other pride of lions we tend to see in our area are the sticks. Now, the sticks are a pride that have been monitored or watched or seen on Game Drive, however you want to put it, for about 25 to 35 years. It depends on who you speak to. And they have been seen, they started off in the southern end of the Sabi Sands, where quite a few properties started the industry that we know today. So Malamala area, Londolozi area, that side. And they are called the Styx Pride because they kill so many buffalo and other species that it's like they're bringing them over the river Styx. That's apparently where it comes from. Now, with other namings of animals, we also give leopards names. So we don't usually name individual animals, although this female lioness is known as Amber Eyes because of the color of her eyes. For us on our program, it's slightly different, but in the guiding fraternity, it's not usually as specific. But leopards have a huge amount of, I want to say, respect with them, and there's a little bit of a difference. So each leopard gets an individual name, and it usually happens when they have become territorial and left their mum. So females around 2 years old, and males usually between 2 and 4, depending on what property you're looking at. Here, we tend to give them names a little bit earlier, around a year old, and that has to do a bit with us and how we work with our live safaris, our live interactive safaris. And some of it has to do just with the guides on Djuma and the policies that they have. So there's little bits of differences there. That's why one of our female leopards, Shadow, her youngster doesn't have a name yet. She's just over a year old, so she should be getting a name soon. We very cheekily call her #NotBarbara. Which makes me laugh. And then Thandi's cub is very tiny, only about 3 months old. Thandi is another female leopard that's in our area, very territorial here. And so she'll probably be getting a name, I would say, in the next 6 to 9 months. However, that being said, it might change, and she might get a name sooner than that for our program, but we will have to wait and see what happens there. Now, our lions are being ridiculously lazy. So viewers, I'm going to ask you, what would you like to do? Shall we wait around with these lions, or shall we go and look for something else? And while you're thinking about that, let's head on over to Steve-O and see what he's up to.
Good afternoon again, folks. You were just talking about #NotBarbara, I believe. Good news is that last night, Davy and myself, after having an absolute corker of a day, on our way back from Chitwa, we bumped into her, Shadow and her daughter, at Baboon Pan, so just there by Twin Dams. And we were off air, obviously, but we got to see them, and they're both looking really, really good. We were driving along after all of those Elif sightings at amazing time with Asana, and as we were coming along, Dave said, "There's a leopard," and I stopped, and I saw a leopard, and then he saw a leopard, and then I said, "Oh, I see 2 leopards," and then we suddenly saw 2, and it was quite amazing. If Dave hadn't seen the first one, we wouldn't have seen either of them. Incredible how they are camouflaged, but then they did move off a bit south from us, so they are really enjoying that sort of area. But we did have tracks of the little one not far from there in the morning on walk with Herbie, so we were trying to follow up on them, but not far from there. So they're kind of enjoying that area around Weaver's Nest and Twin Dams. So we're going to keep trying over the next couple of days, next couple of weeks, and who knows. I mean, it seems that Thandi's kind of pushing them down south, as we saw last week, that interaction, or was it the week before, with Thandi and that little one. It was quite fun to see. So we are approaching the area where Herbie tracked Thandi this morning. Crazy Legs, a question: is there any chance a leopard could get hit by lightning? Probably as much chance as we could. So ideally, if a leopard is sitting in a tree, it's probably not the best spot to sit. When lightning comes, it's advisable to move away from any tall objects. But you know, these animals have evolved with lightning for a very, very long time, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a number of animals every year that are hit by lightning, but I'm sure that they've learned what to do with it over time. So by all means, there is a chance of a leopard being hit. We hope it doesn't happen, because that would not be very nice. So we have come over towards sort of the eastern side. We're on a road now called Drakensberg, and the reason why it's called Drakensberg, if I just back up slightly, because we can see the Drakensberg in the distance. That is where the storm came from. It's actually quite a beautiful afternoon now with the colours. Oh, I believe the school kids wanted to see the Drakensberg mountain. There it is in the distance. For those of you who are not sure what the Drakensberg means, it's actually translated from Dutch meaning dragon's back. Drachen is a dragon and the berg is a mountain. But Drakensberg is because it actually looks like a dragon's back in certain places. It has been around for a very, very long time, and back in the day the imagination was rife and people named things for what they saw. And this extends all the way around to the Cape, and everything this side of it now we refer to as the Lowveld, meaning the low-lying area, and everything above that mountain is the Highveld. That's where Johannesburg and places like that are. But that mountain at one stage extended all the way to where we are now. Can you believe that? When the continents were one, Australia and India were two to my right-hand side, were connected to that Drakensberg mountain, but over a very, very long time, folks, that eroded and weathered away all the way back to where it is now to expose this underlying geology and Lowveld that we have. That's why when we find granite rocks, we don't see too many of them here, but there's other areas in Lowveld you get these very hard sort of koppies or head of granite, and that would have come up as a magma flow underneath the Earth's surface. The Drakensberg would have been up here, and that just weathered down to expose those magma balls or koppies. So really, really interesting geology here in the Lowveld. But we're going to continue. This is a wonderful road to see the Drakensberg. It's not often we get to see it from this area, just because we're quite low. And sorry, we're having a bit of a fuel issue with Wendy this afternoon. Willow Wanderer has been to the northern Drakensberg, and indeed it is a wonderful area. The whole of the Drakensberg is very, very nice. There's wonderful places to go and hike and camp. And directly across from us here we go into a bit of forest area called Mahuberskloof, which is on the way to Pietersburg or Polokwane. And over there is indigenous forest where you can see incredible birds like the Narina trogon, the white star robin, the chorister robin chat. Really nice place to go, and it's not too far from where we are, so it's complete contrast in ecology and also moisture gradients and rainfall, different trees there. It's very tropical. As we go towards the mountains, it gets very sort of what we call fruity. There's a lot of fruit forests there, a lot of citrus, avocado growing, and all of this all up to the mountain forms what's known as the Blyde River Biosphere, Kruger to Canyon Biosphere Reserve, which is including the Kruger and all of the, or should I say transferred, biosphere. There's a biosphere, yes indeed. So it's including the agriculture, it's including the national parks, it's including the homesteads, it's including the communities, and it's important for us to conserve that. It's quite a big initiative and a massive, massive area. It's definitely the way forward now to... Okay, I just need to keep my eyes open because we're in the area where Herbie said he tracked Thandi this morning. So we need to just keep our eyes peeled for a very camouflaged and secretive leopard. But folks, while we continue on our way here, we're going to go back to Noel, who I believe has left the cat sleeping.
We have left them sleeping. I believe most of you voted to move on, and that's okay. They should be around our area hopefully tomorrow morning and maybe tomorrow afternoon as well. You never know. Now we are meandering down towards where that lightning tree was, and we have some elephants. We've got one just in front of me here, and then we've got another one that's feeding just on the left-hand side. There's a nice little herd that's down in there. So something interesting about elephants. Oh, first, I wanted to just update you. I did send those photos through of our hopefully albino elephant or supposedly albino elephant to my friend Izzy, the researcher. I'm still just waiting to hear back from her. And no, I haven't seen it again yet. If we do see it, trust me, it's going to be me going, guys, look, look, because it was so incredible. And then something that Izzy and I were chatting about the other day was the fact that elephants, the research behind elephants and thunder is super interesting. They will arrive in areas before we know a storm is even coming there, because they can either feel through their subsonic vibrations, their infrasound, the thunder vibrations, or possibly it has to do with their sense of smell. We were chatting about that the other day, and I just find that very interesting after our big storm. Now we have this female is busy, looks like a female, is busy using her wonderful trunk, her very dexterous trunk, to wrap it around the branches and pull off some leaves for her to eat. And the reason why I say a female, again for any new viewers that we have out there, she's got a very angular forehead. Males tend to have a very round forehead and females an angular forehead, sort of like the edge of a table. Now it can sometimes be hard to tell when they're teenagers because they're busy going through puberty, just like humans do. But when it's an adult like this, it's easier to tell. Now you can see those two little lips, two little fingers on the end of her trunk. And she also helps pull off the branches that way. Ooh, Steve has spotted something amazing. So I think let's head on over to him so that he can show you all as well.
Look what Seb spotted. We were just driving along and Seb saw something small and spotted moving from one bush to the other, and look what we found. Yes, it's a bundle of joy, ladies and gentlemen, and she is rolling around in the wet grass, having a little bath, it seems. We don't see any sign of the mom anywhere, of Thandi, but look at that. Isn't she just too cute? And she is very close to the road. I can't even see her with my naked eyes. Seb spotted her with the camera, so I dare not move because we're in a really good position right now. And there she is. Thank you, Herbie, for directing us to this area. Took us better part of a minute after finding a branch he put down for us to indicate whereabouts we might find her. Yes, everyone is very excited, I know. I'm very excited. I haven't seen this little thing for a few days already. Bobby, yes, she is having a lot of fun. She's having a lot of fun. It's hard not to when you're a little cat. Don't worry, folks, this is what leopards do. They leave their cubs. She's obviously habituated to the vehicle, so she didn't. I mean, she moved initially when she saw us into cover. That's what Seb saw, but she's very camouflaged. I mean, if you pan right out, Seb, pan right out, we'll see if you can see her. Impossible to see if we pan out. Have a look, see if you can see that, folks. No ways, hey? So anything passing by, Seb just happened to see a movement which stopped on the road to try to figure out which direction Herbie was talking about. And there she was. So she moved because she heard our vehicle, but if any other threat came nearby, something that she is afraid of or something she's not too familiar with, a hyena, anything, she would disappear into that long grass, probably underneath a stump or a branch, and just completely go quiet until Mum returns. And that is the nature of it. That's how these cubs survive. She seems to have outgrown the stage of Mum physically finding dens for her, but she is moving her quite regularly, which is a good sign and very normal for little cubs. But she is our friend, and she has been habituated to the vehicle, so she's not afraid of our car. That's why she's behaving like she is very relaxed, because she is. But so don't worry, she is perfectly safe at the moment. And this is very natural behavior. And I was commenting the other day that not much happens in this area with regards to larger animal movements or predator movements. So I think this is quite a safe area from where she was compared to where she's been before. There's been lots of leopard and lion activity where she's been before, but we haven't had too much of that on this side of the reserve of late, that I have seen anyway. A little bit further away from water. So probably an ideal spot for her to keep her cub. Just marvelous. So folks, we're going to stay here for a little while longer, see if Thandi manages to come back. And while we do so, we're going to go back over to Noel, who I believe is just driving.
We can see that tree that was hit by lightning, so we're not too far away. But I have something very interesting I wanted to chat with all of you about. I can't remember the English name for the tree right now for the life of me, but Acacia nilotica. So if any of you dendrologists that are out there want to maybe quickly remind me what the English is. My brain sometimes does just Afrikaans and Latin, and the English sort of floats away. I'm having one of those moments. So Acacia nilotica. I've been watching this program called Ancient Civilizations, which is just absolutely fascinating. It's about mathematics and the pyramids and different creation stories throughout different peoples across the world and flood stories, etc., etc. Now, something that's really interesting that's about Africa is this Acacia nilotica that in Egyptian myths is known as the tree of life. So the tree of life carries on through many different creation stories, but apparently if you take the bark of this tree, it's got quite a hectic hallucinogen to it, and there's a whole thought process that the hallucinogen in this bark helped bring people to a higher state, and I just found the whole concept very intriguing and very thought-provoking, and I just wanted to share it with everybody. I have not myself tried this hallucinogen, and I doubt that I will, but apparently that is a thing, and ancient Egyptians used to use it, and I would be curious to know if they still use it today. There has been quite a bit of research that's been done on that. So that's my little random fact for the day, although not so random because it does apply to a lot of our flora out here. Sorry, as we're driving around, I'm just having a look to see if we can pick up on this possible leopard that might be around, and just checking everywhere, which you're all checking with me, of course, as we go around. So we're gonna come up to where I believe that lightning struck, which would be at the little Galago Pan, and we will see. I don't know, maybe it could be Hassana, maybe Tingana. I know Hassana was on Chitwa yesterday and Tingana was on Chitwa yesterday, but I haven't heard anything about them thus far today. The leopard that I'm actually really hoping that it is Mvula, because I haven't seen Mvula in a very long time. And for anyone that's new with us, we've already spoken a bit about Thandi and Shadow, two of our resident female leopards. Now, all leopards are territorial. The male territorial leopards we get around here would be Tingana, who's slowly losing his territory as he gets older, and then Mvula, who's really lost a lot of his territory as he's gotten older. We believe Tingana to be about 10 to 12 years old. We don't know 100% because we only started seeing him around the age of 2, and then Mvula is about 12 years old, both getting on in their years, a bit long in the tooth for leopard. Now, Hassana, who I mentioned, is going to be 2 years old in February, and he's not territorial yet, but because his mum, Karula, who is also the mum of Shadow and Thandi, passed away when Hassana was little. Hassana has not left his natal area, his mum's area. He's still around here. He's got this weird obsession with Tingana and follows him around everywhere. But that actually correlates with some information that I gained when I was working in Namibia. I was working underneath a leopard researcher, and she was finding that when males reach independence, which is around the age of about 2, they tend to have some interactions with their father. Not always, but they do. Kind of similar to what elephants will do when they leave their natal herds or are pushed out of their natal herds when they're about 15 to 18 years old. And so it might seem a bit odd for us now, but taking into account what she was finding, maybe it's not so odd. Okay, now we're almost up to this pan, and I'm not quite, I can see something in a tree up there. Kirst, I'm so sorry. I turned down the wrong volume button, so I missed you. Steve has found Thandi! Yay! Let's go over to him while I'm busy searching around.
Okay, folks, we have found her, and she's on something. We haven't quite identified what yet, so we're quite happy to stay now with the cub and with Mum, because she is right here. Just going to keep very quiet. Just going to keep very quiet while she calms down. There, she's feeding again. Typical temperamental Mum. We were just about to leave because we don't want to spend time with the cub. where Mum's not around. But as we were driving away, once again, Seb's amazing visual just saw that tail flick. There, she's calling her cub. She wants her cub to come to her. That wasn't aggression towards us. There, she's going to reposition so we can see her nicely. Isn't she such an accommodating leopard? Good afternoon and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are with a female leopard. She is on some form of animal kill. We have not quite found out what yet. But not far away from her, she is with a 3-month-old baby cub. She'll come out soon, I'm sure, and welcome to Safari Live. My name is Steve Falconbridge, and I'm joined by Seb Rombi on camera. And we just came across this leopard. It was found this morning on foot by one of our colleagues, Herbie, who tracked it. And we've come into the area. We're now viewing. Let's have a look at her. We haven't quite identified what she's feeding on there, but it looks like a baby waterbuck. I don't know if you can see the foot. Please feel free to post your questions below in comments. See if we can answer them for you. But this is a female leopard. Her name is Thandi. She's about 12 years of age, and she's a very successful leopard. She's got one cub at the moment who I'm sure will materialize. She was just here in the bushes a moment before. She is a wonderful little specimen to see. She's full of fun and joy, and this is live and this is wild. This is a fully wild leopard. There is nothing tame about her. She's just relaxed to vehicles because of very extensive work which goes into leopard habituation in the Sabi sands. I wonder if any of you can tell me what that looks like. A baboon? No, it's not. There's a hoof. I wonder if any of you can tell me what you think that might be. It's either a warthog or a waterbuck by the color, but it's very hard to see. Yeah, Helen, I also thought it looked like a baboon, but I definitely thought I saw a hoof there before. You saw a hoof, Seb? Yeah, that's a hoof there. So I've never seen a baboon with a hoof, but I thought the color, the pink that you see on the belly there, looks very baboon-like. Unless there's two animals here. If we can hear those bones crunching as she uses her carnassial shear, the side of the jaw, the teeth on the side that are designed for cutting and shearing through flesh and sinew. Michelle asks a question, why is the baby not coming to her? Well, she hasn't called it, and the baby's not actually feeding on too much meat at the moment. It's more reliant on milk, but she is here and she's around, and she'll probably come stalking up behind Mum shortly, and she's probably had a feed, so she's not that hungry at the moment. But as soon as she wants milk, she'll come and bother her mother, who is enjoying her food and probably a little bit of peace and quiet from any suckling and attention that the cub gives her. The cub at this age there's lots of fun and lots of energy, especially after feeding, and often likes to stalk Mum's tail, which flicks around in the grass. But she's not far away. We had her before. We saw her before we came in here. Marcy, I know it sometimes is difficult to watch these things, but that animal is definitely dead. We apologize for any gruesome features you might see on the show, but this is wild. This is a wild leopard that is living off of the landscape. It's a hunter. It regulates the prey populations, often selecting the weak, often selecting the old or the infirm. It's a very natural selection, a natural process out here that predators feed. We don't feed them, and the animals and the prey animals build up their numbers in accordance. They are feeding on the vegetation at the same time as the predators are feeding on them. It is a natural balance, and it's not to worry about. But if it is too graphic for you, Dave asks, is she aware of the camera? She is a movie star, Dave. She's been on the camera many times, but she is very relaxed. There we go. That looks like a baby waterbuck, folks. It is indeed a baby waterbuck that she is now dragging. I can hear another vehicle approaching in the distance. We do have traversing rights with other vehicles here, so someone else is probably interested to come and show his guests what we have, because this is fantastic stuff. The Sabi Sands in South Africa is one of the best places in Africa to view leopards. See, now what she's done is she's got a kill on the floor, and it's quite a small animal, but what leopards are specialists at is that hoist those animals so that they can avoid being stolen from them by hyena or lion. So I don't know what she heard, but there's definitely intention on her face. We had a broadcast just last week where she took a warthog just as we were talking about hyena, and she took it straight up a tree, and that was fantastic to see. And there are a few large trees around here, but she had it nicely just under a small bush, out of the watchful eyes of any vultures. And now she's feeding again. There we go. The power that these leopards have. They can hoist an animal at least their own body weight, sometimes about 1.5 times their weight, and she weighs about 40 kilograms, which is only about just over 80 pounds. And she can take an 80-pound animal, probably a 90, 100-pound animal, up a tree in her mouth, right up there with her claws, pound for pound, the strongest cat. Now we're going to come around, see if we can see her. Dale would like to know the size of leopards. Can they be compared to mountain lions? I don't know the weight of... I'm sorry about my engine. We will get it started shortly. I'm not too sure about the size of mountain lions. If you can tell me the weight, this female's about 80 odd pounds, but in the African kingdom, the strongest animal pound for pound, and they rely on their camouflage and their stalking ability to do what they do. I think mountain lions might be a little bit bigger, but I don't know. We will get it started. We're just having a bit of a fuel issue with this vehicle today, and I do apologize, folks. I do apologize for the noise. We have ordered the parts for the fuel filter or the fuel jet. We're just going to reposition, and maybe we're going to get her hoisting that. Lisa, that's a good question. Do leopards have a cave? They don't. Leopards do not have any form of shelter. When they have a cub, they might put the cub in a small den site, which could be a hole in the ground and a termite mound. It could be a fallen log with a little access, but they don't actually use anything themselves. They will sleep wherever they come across. They often can sleep in trees or in the shade of a tree. They don't have a place that they go to regularly unless they've got their cub there. Just going to see if we can find her again, folks. She just moved off over here towards that tall tree, and if it was my guess, I would guess she was going to try and hoist that baby waterbuck for her own good. Okay. 130 pounds for female mountain lion, folks. So, Jersey lady, thank you for that. That's a lot bigger than a female leopard. We have... I don't see her. Seb, do you see her? Sorry, folks, we've just lost her for a moment here. Just going to see if we can reposition a little bit. I apologize for that, but these cats are so camouflaged. It's impossible to see them sometimes, but still exciting. She's quite relaxed to the vehicle, so I don't think she's going to go too far. Yes, I didn't get the name of that person there, Kirst, but the answer to the question that I was asked, Sarah, do leopards hide their prey in trees? Yes, that is generally what they do to evade. There she is. She's just up there. She looks like she might be going exactly to do what Sarah's talking about. They will often hide their prey in trees to avoid competition with larger predators such as hyena and lion. Lion can climb trees, but they can't climb as well as leopards. Watch here, folks. She's going to go up the tree. There we go. Just missed the... Just had the focus out there for a moment, but there she goes. She's up the tree. That's what they do. Who knows what she sensed in the distance, but she figures it's time now that she's fed a bit on that waterbuck to now take it up the tree, because that will save it up there. Hyenas will not be able to get it. Lions, where she is, would be able to get it. They're not the best climbers, but they are okay for going up, but not really for going down. But folks, that's it for us. If you'd like to follow us for some more, please Google Safari Live, and you can follow the rest of the show. We're going to still be out here for another half an hour or so. And thank you very much, and good night. So back with you, folks. We're gonna say, would you like me to reposition?
If you want, you can try and go closer, yeah.
Okay. I don't know about my my engine. Folks, we're gonna reposition, and we're glad that you're still with us. And we're gonna try and get a nice visual of Thandi, and maybe the cub will come out again. And while we do so, we're gonna go back to Noel, and we'll see you soon.
Hello, how amazing is Thandi and that cub? I'm so happy she came out. This is our tree that was struck by lightning. So this is what it looks like. That bark's all been peeled away. There's chunks of it that have flown everywhere. It's obviously hit from the top, and you can see as you come down towards the joint where it was burned. There we go, just in there. Now, it's absolutely crazy, hey? Now, we found the diker that was underneath here as well. There we go, there's the diker. And I'm debating whether I think a leopard killed it or if it was standing under this tree when it was hit by lightning. And the reason has to do with the fur on around the belly. So leopards like to pull off fur, but this hasn't been eaten. So it was either killed and then the lightning hit and then the leopard went away, or it was standing under this tree and that fur missing is burn marks from it standing under there when it was hit by lightning. So I'm in two minds about it. Now, Aubrey found it, and Aubrey's been guiding for a very long time, and I trust his judgment 150%. And the way that it was under the tree and lying down, it does look like a cache from a leopard. But after seeing this tree and knowing where they hide under storms, could entirely possibly be like that. Tom, you're saying it looks like the tree is bleeding. Tom, I would agree with you. It does look like the tree is bleeding. Now, Aubrey was saying if it is a leopard, he thinks it's possibly Tumba. We've looked around a little bit. I haven't seen any tracks. I haven't seen much of anything else. So we'll see. Maybe tomorrow morning we find something. You just saw there from Vildi where all of the bark sort of exploded off. And Vildi and I were talking about how awesome it would have been to have been able to film that lightning hitting and everything exploding in slow-mo. That would have been absolutely amazing. Now we're getting a few raindrops. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to carry on down the road, I think. We've done a nice little investigation, and we'll see if we pick up anything down the road. Maybe we get that leopard. Maybe we find something else. And I just want to thank everyone for sticking with us through all the crazy lightning storms and a little bit of technical difficulties. You guys are an amazing audience. Sorry, Chris, say one more time. Fried food, yeah. You guys are cheeky. You're cheeky like me. I think these things, but I don't say them out loud, and then you guys come up with them. I like it. Shame. Poor diker. Well, everything's meant to be food for everything else at some point in its life, whether you're food for the nutrients in the soil or food for a predator. So it does make sense. I think let's head back to Steve, who has an amazing sighting of Thandi. I believe she has climbed up into a tree.
Yes, she has, folks, and if you just look at her face, she's busy calling the cub. She's looking longingly in the distance for where she left her. She's now making those little cat calls that she does when she calls the cub. Now that the kill is securely hoisted in this wonderful marula tree, as Hosanna did yesterday. Here's a very picturesque shot. Have a look at this. Look at that. Isn't she such a movie star? So to answer the questions that were coming up before, most definitely leopards like to hoist their prey. This is one of their specialities. It enables them to feed when they want to. You can see her belly is quite full. There we go. That is a typical leopard in the tree Sabi Sands photograph, if you've ever seen one before. What a beautiful queen she is. Very blessed to have her on the reserve, and well done to Herbie, who came out after drive this morning and tracked her and found where she was. Made our life very easy this afternoon, because it would have taken us a bit of time. She's moved away from the position where he last had her. I don't think we would have found her here. Seb, what do you think? No. Jeff would like to know if the cub could climb up there, and I don't think it's quite big enough yet to climb up there. I mean, I think it would be able to get up, but it would have a really difficult time getting down. It's practicing on much smaller trees at the moment, and not on these big marula trees. I mean, that marula tree, she's probably about 25 feet in the air right now, which would quite a big drop for a small little cat. I mean, if Thandi decides to come down now, you'll see what an effort it is to come down. Not only do they have to use their claws in descending, but there's a bit of a jump at the bottom to get down to the bottom. So I don't think the cub would get up there, but the cub is perfectly safe where she is. Mum's keeping quite a watchful eye out, and she's always listening. And the cub's natural defenses when it hears any sort of danger is to just disappear into the undergrowth. Look at those feet. Isn't she just relaxed? You can see she's also quite wet, so I think she's quite enjoying being up in this marula tree, which would probably be a bit drier than the grass that she was sitting in. And we wonder how long ago she killed that baby waterbuck, and where she killed it, because as we know, folks, we've been seeing Thandi with kills all the time near her baby, and she seems to be killing small animals and then taking them all the way back to where she has been, which is quite something. Quite something. I mean, she's definitely been feeding for a while by the size of her belly. Look at that. Christmas dinner. So I'm sure you're all taking your screenshots. Such a different face, isn't it, to that of Hosanna? I'm really starting to see the differences in these leopards now. As I was saying last night, I saw Shadow and her youngster, and I'm starting to see the differences. There we go, she's calling again. She's not too interested in calling too much. She knows the cub is safe and it's not far away. She's probably a bit tired. She probably had quite a busy morning trying to hunt that waterbuck. But it was a very small youngster. Wonder if you can get another view of that animal up there, Seb. See if we can see any size of it. It definitely looked the waterbuck. Not very clear. Not very. It's on the right there. Scarlett would like to know how far the cub is away, and I mean, we've driven probably about 50-60 meters from where we were previously parked, and that's not very far in leopard terms, but it is quite open here. It's not very thick, but there are little clumps of bushes around. There are clumps of bushes around, so it's not far, but she's staring in the direction of her cub. She's wondering what that little bundle of joy is up to, I'm sure, but probably as it gets a little bit darker, she'll go back and make sure that she is okay. But right now, I think she's enjoying the dryness of the branch. Yes. Sahara, you say it's very smart that she's taking all sorts of small prey in various varieties. You know, I don't know if it's smart or if it's just the way it is. You know, this time of year with lots of baby animals, it's when your predators, they make the most of it. Baby animals are a lot easier to catch than adults. And so this is the time of year your predators need to bulk up. She's breeding as well, so she needs to have enough strength to provide the milk for her growing cub. And in the next coming months, she's going to be able to provide the meat as well for that cub, because that cub's not going to be hunting for quite a while still. So the smart thing indeed is the small animal she catches, she can hoist up a tree. That makes it easier. So less effort to carry, but a large animal would sustain her for a longer period of time. So protein in versus energy. At the moment, it is important for them to catch what they can. Yes, she does, Sky. She does have her motherhood strategies well figured out. Some people working, I think Tristan told me she reckons this is going to be the last litter that she has. I don't know, but she's only got one cub at the moment. So, but I mean, she seems to be doing quite well. We just got another vehicle joining us, folks. So just excuse me if I quickly talk to them on the radio. Yes, I've just got to up in the marula tree here on my right hand side. So if you want to position anywhere, the kill is in the tree with her as well. Okay, so we've got one of the landowners from the north, from Chikana, coming in to join just in time as we approach the end of our show. Hasn't been the hardest job for us today because the rain kept us away for quite a bit, but I think we've managed to do quite a bit in the hour or so that we've been out on drive. We've seen some very wet raptors, vultures, and Wahlberg's eagles. But let's have a few more moments with the beautiful queen up here. The vehicle's pulling in. Hey, just pulling into a nice position. And so, folks, from myself and Seb Rombi and the team back at FC, those up in the Mara, we'd like to thank you, the viewers, for your comments and questions. We'd like to thank Mama Africa for the rain that we've got, and for Thandi for showing herself that beautiful bundle of joy. Please feel free to join us tomorrow morning live on Safari Live. We'll see you there. I'll be walking. Have a fantastic evening, and until then, good night.